Today during my Twitch live stream, make sure to go follow that if you guys have not already. We're going to do live streams and stuff like that for Wuthering Waves over there. We found a level 120 bear. Now I wanted to make this video and kind of talk about this because my current units are all level 40 and I have weapons that are kind of in the range of like 10 to 15 in level, and they're all 4 stars. And my echoes, while I do have a couple of decent echoes, especially like for Calcaro, because I do actually have his like, echo event one, but most of them are not leveled at all, right? So I don't really have any advantage there. And most of this is just being very, very under leveled for this particular fight. Now, if you've never seen one of these guys, these are an alpha version of an echo. If you beat them, you get a guaranteed 5-star and they disappear. So they're kind of like a one and done. From what I understand, they were one and done in TBT2. So it's a very rare scenario to be able to fight one of these guys. And obviously they're very hard. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this video in particular is because I think it's a good showcase of what Wuthering Waves has to offer in terms of just being good at the game and understanding the mechanics of not only your kit, your team, as well as the boss. It's just one of those things where once you get a little bit of a playtime against a certain boss, you can start to do things that even if you're under leveled, you can end up coming out on top. So this took me about 30-ish minutes. So it's about like 20-ish tries. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not going to say I one and done this dude. There's a couple of attacks, especially his little furies that he does. I'll kind of talk about it whenever he shows it, but he can catch you off guard because he does a little bit of a delay between some of his different attacks, and it just takes a second, right? It takes a second to get the timing right. Especially, you'll even see me in this video get caught 2 different times with my Calcaro and my Verena, and they both get one tap. So that's why it's so important for me not to get hit, right? So basically, you're going for a non-hit run because otherwise you are going to end up losing that particular unit, right? So eventually I was able to do it with just my Dan Jin at the very end because he had a minuscule amount of health. But it was a task, man. It took a little bit of time, and it kind of gave me that nice little urge of like, Demon Souls, the Elden Ring stuff. Now, I don't necessarily play a lot of those games, but it gave me the itch. You know what I mean? I was like, I kind of had to beat him because once I see that the fact that you can tick his health away, that's what gives me like the motivation to want to win, right? Because I'm like, ooh, I can hurt him, and I can hurt him to a decent amount. Now, most of the damage here was actually from the intro skills and the outro skills, so that was kind of prominent to be able to switch between my different characters. And Verena actually adds a nice little buff for like all damage. So switching between her, as you can kind of see, she wasn't really doing too much because there's no point to use her heals because if I get hit, and I'm dead. But I like to use her as like kind of my intro stuff to actually give her that little buff for the rest of my team. But yeah, you're able to see it. I was able to win there, and it was just a lot of fun. It's just something you're able to do with a lot of these different, echoes and the different teams and stuff like that. Once you get a good idea of the foundation of the game, you're able to do a ton of different stuff, even with the kind of lower level units. You don't necessarily have to max everybody out in order to fight these like higher like 120 stuff. So if you ever see one of these guys, go and check them out and see if you can actually beat them because it's a ton of fun to fight.